Starting off our list today at number 10, we have Megan Fox. Back in 2009, Megan Fox would come out to call Michael Bay out for his unprofessional behavior behind the scenes for the Transformer movie franchise, which isn't really shocking, as after they kicked Megan out of the films, they did have one of the Transformers call her an itch for no reason. In an interview with the Los Angeles Times, Megan would say, "Michael wanted to create this insane, infamous madman reputation, and he ultimately was a nightmare to work for." She also went on to say, "But when you get him away from the set and he's not in director mode, I kind of really enjoy his personality because he's so awkward, so hopelessly awkward. He has no social skills at all. It's endearing to watch him. He's so vulnerable and fragile in real life, and then on set he's a tyrant." In response, Michael then made a letter and enlisted his crew as the people behind it on his page, where they claimed that Megan was the one who was actually really difficult to work with. Number 9. Ray Fisher. Joss Whedon has been accused multiple times on set for misconduct. In 2020, Ray Fisher, who starred in Justice League, wrote in a tweet that Joss's behavior during the filming of the movie was gross, abusive, unprofessional, and completely unacceptable. Not only did he use his social media, but he also used a series of interviews to bring forward some serious allegations of racist behavior and cover up at Warner Brothers. Josh, who played Cyborg in the 2017 film, is fed up with the unrelenting focus of executives at Warner Film Studios and then at its parent company Warner Media, and how they handled allegations that he and others brought to their attention. Right after Ray exposed his mistreatment, Catherine Forrest, a former federal judge who conducted the Warner Media probe, told THR in a statement that in the interviews of more than 80 witnesses, she found no credible support for claims of racism or racial insensitivity. A Warner Media spokesperson then noted that the company made extraordinary efforts to accommodate Mr. Fisher's concerns about the investigation to ensure its fullness and fairness, but the investigation definitely wasn't fair, as his allegations were truly just swept under the rug instead of being heard. Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Coming in at number 8, we have Charisma Carpenter. Showrunner, producer, and director Joss Whedon now has a long line of celebrities who have come forward to accuse him of abuse. One of the most disturbing accounts comes from former Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel star Charisma Carpenter, who played Cordelia Chase in Joss Buffy's universe. Charisma only felt inspired to speak up about the mistreatment she received after years of remaining silent because she saw the Justice League actor Ray Fisher tweet about the abusive work environment Josh allegedly fostered on the set of the film. In a statement to her Twitter account in February 2021, Charisma called Josh casually cruel while citing on-set examples like allegedly calling her fat when she was 4 months pregnant, or she was forced to report to work at 1 a.m. against medical advice. She then claimed that Josh asked her inappropriate questions about her pregnancy, and shortly after she gave birth, Josh fired her, and she would know all that promise and joy sucked right out of new motherhood. And Josh was the vampire. While he found his misconduct amusing, it only served to intensify my performance anxiety, disempower me, and alienate me from my peers. Number 7. Judy Garland. The original Dorothy of Oz had a difficult life after Judy Garland passed away in 1969. Later, it would be said that her life was full of many hardships, and she unfortunately suffered her whole life. It all began when the actor was 13 years old and signed a contract with MGM Studios. During this time, executives at the studio allegedly created body images for her by forcing her not to eat and made her develop a resilience on substances. And they even reportedly made unwanted advancements towards her. By the age of 19, Judy then got married for the first time and would go on to have 5 husbands in total. And one was allegedly abusive. The most shocking story, however, comes from her most famous film. Judy's ex-husband, Sid Luft, who served as her manager and whom she married from 1952 to 1965, had a memoir published in 2017 where he claimed that the actors who played the Monksians in The Wizard of Oz made unwanted advancements towards Judy on set, and they would make Judy's life miserable on set by putting their hands under her dress. With the Monksians being 40 or more years old, Sid would say they thought they could get away with anything because they were so small. Number 6. Amy Adams. Director David O. Russell has alleged documented history of aggressive behavior on set. like the time he got into a physical altercation with George Clooney, to the time he called Lily Tomlin a "see you next Tuesday" while filming the 2004 I Heart Hucklebees. But the most disturbing allegation was when David continuously mistreated Amy Adams on the set of the 2013 American Hustle movie. In emails leaked the following year through WikiLeaks, journalist Jonathan Alter wrote to his brother-in-law, Sony Entertainment CEO and chair Michael Yachten, that the new stories of Russell's abuse and lunatic behavior are extreme even by Hollywood standards, before claiming that he abused Amy Adams and that even her co-star Christian Bale had to get in his face and yell at him to stop acting like an a-hole. Amy would then confirm in an interview with GQ in 2016 that David did mistreat her on set when she said, "He did make me cry. He was hard on me, that's for sure. It was a lot. I was really just devastated on set." Number 5. Hannah Waddingham. Battles may have been in common in the film on Games of Thrones, but Hannah Waddingham, who played Septa Unella on the popular fantasy drama from 2015 to 2016, never expected to literally be waterboarded during a day's work. In season 6 on the show, Cersei Lannister pays Septa back for torturing her by having Septa captured and tortured too. Hannah then told Collider that Unella was supposed to be taken advantage of, but decision makers made a last-minute change while she was flying to the film, and her wardrobe suddenly required her in a wetsuit. Instead of using visual effects to simulate the act of torture, Hannah claims that she was literally waterboarded, and she said, "And there I was, strapped to a wooden table with proper big straps for 10 hours. And definitely, other than childbirth, it was the worst day of my life." The 10-hour day of traumatic filming was not without actual consequences, as Hannah would then add the situation definitely caused her to have claustrophobia when she's around water. Number 4. Sophia Bush. When Sophia Bush was playing Erin Lindsay on NBC's Chicago PD for 4 seasons before she quit the show in 2017, in the middle of her 7-year contract, she then would later explain to Dax Shepard on the Armchair Expert podcast that her body could not handle the physically demanding conditions she was put in on set. In the interview, she would say, "I quit because I've been so programmed to be a good girl and to be a workhorse and to be a tugboat that I've always prioritized hugging the ship for the crew, for the show, for the group ahead of my own health. The reality was that my body was falling apart because I was really, really unhappy." She then went on to claim that while the show was being filmed in Chicago, creative decision makers made the cast film outside in weather conditions that were 62 degrees below freezing because the snow looked cool on camera. Sophia also then went on to note that she endured being abused at work because she didn't want to jeopardize her job for crew members, and that the culture protected what was happening on set. Bush alleged that she gave her bosses a whole season to fix the issues that she knew she had been working in the conditions in Chicago, and when they didn't comply, she decided it would just be best to exit the show altogether. Number 3. Elliot Page. Back in 2017, Elliot Page would take to his Facebook page to say that Brett Ratner outed him as gay during the filming of the X-Men The Last Stand. Page went on to say, "I was a young adult who had not come out yet to myself. I knew I was gay, but did not know, so to speak. I felt violated when this happened. He outed me with no regard for my well-being, in an act we all recognize as homophobic." In addition, Ratner also told a woman on set you should F her to make her realize she's gay. Page then went on to say Ratner's comments replayed in his mind many times over the years as he's encountered homophobia and coped with feeling of reluctance and uncertainty about the industry and his future in it. Just a short time before Elliot went public with his story, 6 women accused Ratner of a range of unwanted advances in misconduct. Number 2. Shelley Duvall. Director Stanley Kubrick is notorious for running a demanding set. However, did you know that The Shining broke the Guinness World Record for most retakes for one scene with dialogue after it took them 148 takes to finish it? In 2021, The Hollywood Reporter would then ask former Hollywood star Shelley Duvall if Stanley treated her viciously on set, and she would tell the outlet, "He's got that streak in him. He definitely definitely has that, but I think mostly because people have been that way to him at some point in the past. While Shelley did tell the Rolling Stone Stanley was warm and friendly towards her, Shelley's own daughter, Vivian, captured Shelley's physical and emotional exhaustion while filming The Shining in a behind-scenes documentary which featured the actor lying down on the floor in a complete state of exhaustion. Shelley once also told Roger Ebert that going through the day after day of excruciating work was almost unbearable. Angelica Houston, who lived with the film's star Jack Nicholson, would also go on to note that Shelley was having a difficult time with the film's emotional content before saying, "When I saw her during those days, she seemed generally a bit tortured, shook up. I don't think anyone was particularly careful of her." And coming in at number 1, we have Debbie Reynolds. Debbie Reynolds got her star-making role playing Kathy in 1952's Singing in the Rain. Debbie was much like her character who was trying to break out into the movie business, as she was not as experienced as her co-stars Gene Kelly and Donald O'Connor. In fact, Debbie had no prior dance training before the production began, but Kelly, who co-directed the film, was apparently not a patient teacher and he mistreated Debbie on set. Debbie would open up about her mistreatment in her Unsinkable memoir in 2013, where she would say, "My feet were bleeding from all that dancing, and when I pointed out, Gene says, 'Clean it up.' He was very sentimental like that." Debbie would also claim that Gene was a cruel taskmaker when she noted that he came to rehearsals and criticized everything she did and never gave her a single word of encouragement. Later, for his part, Kelly did eventually admit that he did mistreat his young co-star badly, and he said, "I wasn't really nice to Debbie. I'm surprised she still speaks to me." But Gene's on-set behavior went beyond meanness, as he also shoved his tongue down her throat in a particular scene. Coming in number 10 today, we have Nina Dobrev and Ian Somerhalder. Fans of The Vampire Diaries will remember the love affair between Nina Dobrev and Ian Somerhalder. While the series for years led us urging the producers to let the two be together on screen like they were off screen, and somewhere along the lines we finally saw the two who played Elena Gilbert and Damon Salvatore finally get together, and it gave us some strong romance that we wish would last forever. There's no denying that the couple had a huge amount of chemistry when they were finally put together on the screen as lovers, and we all screamed. But following their real life breakup and the fact Ian then quickly went on to get married, it seems like the actors were in a position where they could no longer be in the same room together. Nina even had enough when she left the show before she was convinced to return for a final episode, and the two were then talked into finally kissing on screen one last time, so it could be the perfect ending for their characters. It seems like they would end up locking lips one last time, but it was said to have been one of the most awkward scenes the two had ever filmed together. Number 9. Vanessa Hudgens and James Franco. Seems like Vanessa Hudgens didn't want to kiss James Franco, and when she found out that she had a scripted kissing scene with the actor, she wasn't too impressed with the idea and started to argue that the film should just drop the scene altogether. During an interview back in 2013 while defending her role in the movie Spring Breakers, she would confess that she didn't like kissing her co-star and that she would rather kiss a girl over and over again than have to kiss him again. While the star was fine with kissing her other co-star, Ashley Benson, she would say, "I'd rather kiss Ashley than kiss James, to be honest, because she's a girl and I was close to her and I felt comfortable. So I was like, yeah, I'll kiss Ashley." And to be fair to James, his character was quite an oddball in the movie, so the kissing scene was never going to be a generic one. Perhaps if the two were cast in a different type of movie altogether in the future, he could prove that he was just playing his part, but we all know he wasn't just playing his part. But also at the same time, the movie's commercial was just clickbait and the film was actually really boring and not interesting to watch, but at the same time, Vanessa was getting these weird vibes from James Franco, and that should have been noted. Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Coming in at number 8, we have Reese Witherspoon and Robert Pattinson. If this was a Twilight movie and Reese Witherspoon was a giant fan, then she probably would have swooned like the rest of us watching Bella and Edward fall in love. However, while there may be a bunch of women who have queued up around the block to have a chance to lock lips with Robert Pattinson in a kissing booth, seems like Reese Witherspoon would not be one of these women. The two actors who worked together on Water for Elephants back in 2011, and it seems like while their kissing scenes managed to show the right kind of emotion for the film, they were also forced, as Reese actually didn't want to kiss Robert because he had a cold during the film. It said that his cold got so bad at one point during filming that he actually had so much mucus dripping out of his nose, so no one could really argue Reese's reasons weren't valid because gross. Who would actually want to kiss someone in that state? Reese was probably trying to argue the fact that she didn't want to catch whatever Robert was suffering from, which is actually pretty understandable, and shame on the production for actually making her go through with it. Just gross. Number 7. Brad Pitt and any other actress. Brad Pitt is one of the best known actors in Hollywood thanks to his iconic dreamy roles. And while the actor has filmed some pretty daring love scenes while dating a number of different actresses, it seemed like Brad's entire outlook on life changed when he got married to Angelina Jolie. And during this period, that's probably why he was so miserable when he was with her, because she dictated his whole life. While Brad was working on the set of The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, Brad initially refused to kiss the stunning redhead who had been chosen specifically for that scene. The director David Fincher was stunned, and many of Brad's fans assumed that Angelina was the reason Brad hadn't wanted to do it, since he didn't want to cause any issues at home with his wife like he did when he was seeing Jennifer Aniston. Brad obviously did decide to kiss the girl in the end, but these were the first few signs that started to show that his marriage with Angelina Jolie was starting to unravel. Number 6. Lindsay Lohan and Charlie Sheen. When Lindsay Lohan and Charlie Sheen were both working together on the set of Scary Movie 5, they were part of a very famous bedroom scene, and in the scene the two were scripted to have at least 3 on-screen kisses. But Lindsay flat out refused to lock lips with the former 2.5 Men star throughout the scene. While it seems unknown why Lindsay refused to kiss Sheen, it would be reported that both stars had to sign a release that confirmed that neither of them had cold sores. Lindsay had objected the kissing part for their scene a number of times in the days leading up to filming, but it seems that the scripts weren't changed until the day before, with a body double being forced to step in for some parts while others were written out completely. Despite not wanting to get physical with her co-star, Sheen and Lohan were later reported to have become good friends, and he even gave Lindsay $100,000 to help pay off her tax bill. Number 5. Kevin Hart and other men. Over the last decade, Kevin Hart has become a well-known comedian, and recently he started to get cast in some pretty big movies, which has caused him to step out of his comfort zone. Kevin, who was seen in the film Central Intelligence alongside The Rock, was forced to kiss 2 other actors in a scene at one point, and he wasn't so fond of the incident. After the movie, Hart would say that he didn't like to play characters that were attracted to men because he was really insecure about acting in these types of roles, and that he wasn't able to fit into the character as much as he would like to. In the movie, Hart would have to kiss The Rock, and while the two were able to get their kissing scene out of the way, it seems like Kevin initially didn't want to do it, but after the producers urged him, he was finally able to get past his issues. However, even though this was a big step for Kevin to dive out of his comfort zone, it now seems highly unlikely that Hart will ever accept another movie for this type of role if he knows his character will have to kiss another man, which is something the film industry just needs to get over, because there's nothing wrong with your character having to kiss anyone. It's not you, it's your role. Number 4. Denzel Washington and Julia Roberts. Denzel Washington is a legend on the big screen, but it seems that when it comes to kissing scenes in movies, he's another star who comes with a number of problems. When Denzel was cast alongside Julia Roberts in The Pelican Brief, Denzel would completely out of the blue turn down many of the scenes in the film, especially when it came to the opportunity for him to kiss one of the most beautiful actresses in Hollywood, Julia Roberts. Later, Denzel would explain that he wasn't rejecting the kiss because he was against Julia, but it's the fact that he has a huge fan base full of beautiful black women. At these times, these women were being shown on screen as someone who wasn't desirable. So he wanted to maintain his loyalty to his core audience, and this meant that he was going to have to refuse any scenes that made him kiss any woman that weren't black on the screen, which is honestly pretty iconic. It's not really unsurprising that Denzel is one of those actors that directors are happy to work around, and we have to praise him for helping shape Hollywood into what it's becoming today. Number 3. Carey Mulligan and Johnny Depp. Despite being part of the acting business for a number of years, it seems like Carey Mulligan is still like the rest of us, and she gets starstruck when she has to act alongside an actor that she is a huge fan of. And unfortunately for Carey, this is exactly what happened when she was cast alongside Johnny Depp in the film Public Enemies. It seems like Carey was so overcome with her admiration for Johnny that she would become unable to deliver a number of different scenes in the film, and it got to the point that she was so anxious when it came to the kissing scenes that it took her around 16 times to get it right, which probably drove the film and crew nuts. It even seems like a large portion of the scene was removed from the film as she was unable to maintain her composure, and the scene didn't seem to work as well as directors thought it would. While we won't be seeing Carrie do kissing scenes with any big time actors anytime soon, it just goes to show that actors are only human too. Number 2, Julia Roberts and Nick Nolte. It seems like when Julia Roberts and Nick Nolte both starred in the film I Love Trouble, as far as the on-screen chemistry goes, the couple completely tanked, but off-screen, the tension between the two stars is said to be unbearable, which made the working conditions too hard to handle at times. The two had a number of different issues working together throughout the film, and the conditions were so bad that it even reached the point where they were forced to film their scenes separately because they couldn't even be in the same room together, let alone beside each other anymore. Then came their on-screen kiss, and it was the one thing that Julia dreaded the most, and when the kiss was finally over and done with, Julia was happy that it was finally out of the way. Now, no one really knows why the two actors clashed so much, but since they both starred in the film I Love Trouble, the two haven't worked together, and it seems like the film has left a lasting impression since Julia is occasionally mentioning him in interviews as one of the worst people she has ever had to work with, which really makes you wonder what really went down between the two. And coming in number 1 today, we have Allison Hannigan and Jason Segel. Allison Hannigan's character as Lily and Jason Segel's character as Marshall have become one of the best loved couples on TV thanks to their roles in the iconic show How I Met Your Mother. But even a couple who has had much chemistry on screen as Marshmallow and Lily Pad, they have had their own fair share of problems when it comes to their kissing scenes. And it seems like Allison Hannigan actually had a huge problem with the scene because Jason Segel smokes, and it's even been said that Allison was forced to kiss her TV husband even after she said he smelled and tasted like tobacco. And it was something that she found off-putting, and honestly I don't blame her. Despite being forced to kiss her on-screen husband, Allison was able to suppress her gag reflex and maintain chemistry she had with Jason on the screen, which is a huge part of the reason why the TV show later became one of the most popular TV shows people still watch today. Allison has had her own fair share of strange kisses over the years, so it seems like for the most part she's become an expert at maintaining her professionalism.